I made some guacamole the other day, which means I've got all of these avocado skins left over, so this is just a really good time to make some avocado skin dye. And I thought I would show you how to do that. I've got some scrap papers that I'm going to dye, just some book pages and then some random scraps of paper. I just like to have these on hand, kind of like coffee dyed papers, you know, just have a stack on hand because you just never know when you're going to need them. And avocado skin dye makes a really pretty kind of a pink mauve looking dye, or an antique pink looking thing. It's really kind of pretty. I like it. So what I'm going to do is I just scraped out the skins really good, and then I rinsed them off to get off any excess avocado goo. They don't have to be perfect. I'm going to put in enough water to cover. Did I say this is 4 avocados? I don't remember. Well, anyway, it is. It's 4 avocados. I'm going to add enough water just to cover the skins, bring it to a boil, and then turn it down, cover it, let it simmer for probably 30 minutes. So I'll get this started, and then in about 30 minutes, I'll come back and we'll see what we've got. Alrighty, I ended up letting my avocado skins simmer for a little over an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Lid on the pot, just at a simmer, and then I shut off the heat and I left them just sitting there in the pot for maybe another hour. I don't know if that's like an important step in the process, but I just had other stuff to do. So that's how it ended up. And then when I got done, best thing to do is to strain the liquid. And I just ran it through used a coffee filter in a strainer thing. And just because there's like little avocado bits in there. So I strained it, and this is what you end up with. And it looks kind of brown. To me, this looks like iced tea. This is a good glass of iced tea right here. So it's kind of brown like tea. But when you put it onto your papers, they're going to come out pink. And this is not great lighting in the kitchen here, so I'm not sure if you can see. But they are just a lovely pink, and you can see I did this before I figured out that straining was best. So this is pink with bits of avocado in it. But it is just a lovely kind of vintage pink looking thing. And here's what I recommend. This is not really like coffee dyeing where you can just spray a little on and, you know, let it dry and it's fine. It takes quite a bit of the dye to get any color out of it. If you just, you know, dip it in and then let it dry, it's just almost nothing. This is just a very pale pink that I don't even know if you can even tell that it's pink at all. It just kind of looks dirty. But I have really good luck with pouring some into the bottom of a cookie sheet like this. And then stacking papers in there, you know, scrap papers, computer papers, book pages, whatever you want. Just keep doing this, keep adding a little more liquid because you really want the liquid to kind of pool. And it's those areas where, you know, it's really kind of pools up. Those are the ones that make the most intense color. And what I do is I just stick this in my oven. I've got it at 250 degrees Fahrenheit. I do that for, I don't know how long. Quite a while, actually. It just depends on how many pieces of paper you have. Because as they start to bake dry, I peel them off, take them out. I gently flip my stack over because, you know, the papers are going to want to tear, so just be careful with it. And then let that bake, peel some more off. If they're not dark enough, add some more liquid. So, you know, it's almost like cooking. You just kind of have to experiment and get a feel for it. But that's it. Just dry them in your oven. You know, 250, you can turn it up a little bit as long as you don't take your eyes off of it. And then you will get this lovely pink color. So let me bake up some more, and then we'll see what we've got. These are the results of my avocado dyeing session. And I may have ironed these pages. May or may not. More likely, may have. But I also don't feel like I explained the baking process very well. Okay, let me re-explain that. There's several different kinds of paper in here, and that's why it's come out, you know, in different shades of pink. It also has a lot to do with how much of the dye you use, how long you bake it, if you even bake it. I will say that I didn't really like the results I got when I just soaked the paper in the avocado dye and then let it dry naturally. It was really light. You know, the pink just didn't show up as much, and when you bake it, it just kind of bakes in there, and to me it just shows up better. But let me explain better what I did. You know, I had my cookie sheet. You can line it with a piece of parchment if you want to, and usually that's a pretty good idea because as you bake it, you continue to add dye, and it soaks in and dries up. The paper will want to stick to whatever you're baking on. So lining it is a good idea. You know, I had this jar full of my avocado dye. I ended up using all of it except for maybe about that much. There was about that much left. I threw it out. It wasn't because I didn't need it. Normally I would have used it, but it was late and I was tired of it already. So I just tossed it. I called it done and tossed it. And here's what I did. I just kind of, you know, stacked blank papers in here like this, just several different kinds, sizes, whatever. I had some book pages that were off-white, so made some stacks. And as I was stacking, you know, I'd stack 5 or 6, then I would pour some dye. I had a little dye in the bottom, pour some dye. Okay, stack some more, pour some more dye. Okay, they're all, I even, you know, pressed it down so the dye was oozing up around the edges. They were soaked. Stick it in the oven about 200, 250, and make sure you're kind of in and around the kitchen to keep an eye on it. And I'd look in and see that the top of it started to look like it was drying out. So I would pull this out. If the pages on top were kind of dry, I'd pull them off, set them aside, let them finish drying, or iron them, you know, whatever. Then I would just kind of take a spatula to lift up my stack, flip it over like that, and then either spoon on some more dye, pour a little more on, bake it some more. Do the same thing, pull it out. These are going to be kind of baked and done, so do like this, flip it over, add some more pages maybe if you didn't add them all, pour on more dye. I just kind of did that off and on. This was several hours throughout the day. I mean, there are certainly quicker, easier ways to do this, but I really, really like the baked on look. I like this with my coffee dyeing. I like it with avocado dyeing. I like this. And this is just, the only way I know how to really get a good look like this is in the oven, because this is, you know, it's baked. So that's what I did, and just, you know, throughout the day, every about 10 or 15 minutes, I'd check it, I'd pull pages off, I'd flip it, I'd add a little bit more dye, and then put it in there. I would go and iron some of my pages. These were some of the first that I did, and I did not bake them. I just kind of poured a little bit of the dye on. I was actually just seeing if the dye was dark enough, was ready, because I ended up cooking it for over an hour, like maybe an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half maybe, and then I let it sit until it was cool with, you know, avocado skins and all, and then strained it. And before I strained it, I put some on here just to see if it was strong enough, and it was. But you can see that when you bake it, you get a little bit of the brown, because, you know, you're baking it. It's toasted. So it's a little more brown than it is pink, but you also get these cool patterns and textures. I don't know what this black is. It's on several of the pages. I don't know if it was something on my pan, because I have an old pan that I use specifically for baking craft things, so that might have been it. I'm really not sure, but it left some super cool patterns on some of these. So this is just how I do it. You may do it different. You may find a way that you like to do it different as far as dyeing the actual pages, but you know, making the dye is super simple. You just cook those avocado skins in some water and they will they will eventually make this kind of antique pinkish mauve-ish dye. And I've got an antique journal I've been working on, or not antique journal, vintage themed journal I've been working on, and I'm going to use these in it. So I hope that clears up any questions you might have. I hope that you'll give this a try, you know, next time you make guacamole. Save those skins, and that's all. The end.